Welcome, all you multifamily enthusiasts, to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment podcast, where we will dive into the world of real estate investing, innovation, and personal growth. I'm your host, Hutch, the Marine Investor. Today, we have an extraordinary guest joining us, Alice Yim. Alice is a dynamic entrepreneur whose career span real estate, senior care, and fashion design. Since starting her real estate journey in 2018, Alice has amassed ownership in over 1,030 units and have made significant stride in residential assisted living and ground up development, where we're thrilled to have her here to teach us a little bit about a few things. And we have this podcast broken down in a couple of different segments and take you on a journey to learn the most from Ms. Yim. We're going to be talking today about multifamily, then and now. We're going to be talking about understanding the need to pivot, exploring new opportunities, and this blue ocean strategy for the highest and best use, amongst a few other topics. So today we have a really awesome guest that is going to educate us on some things unique in real estate. So before we go into the main topics, Miss Alice, do you have a favorite real estate quote or mantra that drives you?
Recently, I read something from Matthew Hesse, and it's about the bamboos. And if I may, I would like to share that. So
Yeah.
it's not a quote, it's a meaning that I really deeply resonate, which is how when you see the plants, for example, bamboos, and when they grow in the right soil and with the right amount of light, they thrive and they grow to be a very healthy plant. And we humans are also the same way. With the right condition, we can grow to be great individuals. But the difference is that we human can create light and we can shed light as well. Despite the upbringing to be very harsh and with adversity kind of upbringing, we can still make a choice to give meaning to life and to everything we do. I think that's my mantra, or something that really resonated with me recently. It's about doing everything that's meaningful to me and to the people around me.
Yeah, that is so awesome. And I noticed that the older that I get, the more doing things of significance mean more to me. Like all these frivolous activities is no longer a desire. I think the older we get, at least for me, the more I'm purposeful about the things that I do. I wish I learned this earlier. Now, so I cover you briefly. Is there anything else you wanted our audience to learn about you before we get into the topics?
I think that everything I do right now is very intentional.
Right.
I started my journey really young, wanting to be a fashion designer.
Okay.
I wanted to be behind the scenes, but realizing I was given the opportunity by my business partners, great friends and family, to be a pretty successful fashion designer. Once I realized that's not a blue ocean for me, I pivoted and found the blue ocean in real estate, and I took massive learning to be where I'm at right now. But I think the journey actually can always evolve, and you define the meaning. And I think with the ground up development and the platform, the school platform that I have with my business partner, John, I think eventually I will have my own fashion boutique and my fashion business to help incubate designers. So life is a
Okay.
cycle. And I think that that's what makes it beautiful. And don't be too eager, and just remember who you are and what you want to do, and be patient, and eventually you will get to where you want. Yeah.
No, that is perfect. I did a video recently that talked about staying on your journey
Mhm.
and knowing where you want to go in the future
Mhm.
and enjoy the journey, the learning, and also the navigation, right? Because sometimes you have to pivot, right? Pivot left, pivot right, but it's all to get to that place that within your brain housing group. That is where your passion lies, right? So it's cool to see how things are coming full circle with your fashion design.
Thank you.
The first topic we're going to dive into, Miss Alice, we're going to
Mm.
talk about, multifamily landscape then and now. Miss Alice, you've been involved in multifamily syndication since 2018. 2018. Can you share with us how the landscape of multifamily investments have changed since you first started, and what trend have you seen emerging in the near future?
Yes, actually, I started 2018 with single family investments first. I did invest in the East Coast, Connecticut, with a four units, fourplex turnkey
Okay.
investment, and I 2xed by 2021, and that's when I took massive action
You got the bug.
into. Yeah, and then I thought that this is definitely very rewarding. Of course, I also went through a lot of hardship during that
Okay.
time. I'm not going to mention about that, but 2020, the end of December and 2021 were the years for me to take massive action in multifamily and residential assisted living as well. I would say the landscape in 2021 was very promising. We were at the boom. I joined the Brad Sumrock personal student program in
Okay.
March. And then I was vetting all the sponsors
Okay.
and students that we had. And then I eventually started my first investment in 2021 September for 108 units Class B in Dallas with a great sponsor. And I just LP'd it. And then after that, I got an opportunity to be a GP. A GP, and I raised money for that. So the 2021 and 22 were definitely very promising and still very thriving, and deals close with 3x 4x is very common. So I think I entered it in a very prime time. It's not always bad, but it doesn't mean that it's great. So with the interest rate happening in 2022, 23,
Yeah.
and no one ever foreseen that happen, I think that definitely impacted a lot of sponsors that never experienced the 2008 and never understood the cycle,
Right.
the downturn of the cycle. So I think that's the current situation, or the situation that we experienced in the last 2, 3 years, the ups and downs with it.
No, I got you. We talk extensively about the things that have transpired, especially how real estate have been affected in the past year. But
Mhm.
you said something that I really want to dive into. You said a lot of things that, but I want to pick one out and dive into so we can move into the next topic.
Sure.
And is that you chose to invest as an LP before actually investing as a GP. What was the
Absolutely.
thought process behind that?
Humility, and also I'm there to learn, because
Okay.
I don't believe that you can know everything. And the best way to invest is to understand what you're investing.
Right.
And it's only through time and people that you can fully experience that. You can use imagination and just paper knowledge to try to figure out the future. And it's, to me, that's really irresponsible also. I think staying humble and willing to learn from other people are the
Yeah.
best way to start your investment journey. I would think that it's also important to start small, to the capacity that you can handle losing your investments,
Yeah.
and not feel like you're gonna, like want to kill yourself or something. Yeah.
No, I'm totally
Yeah.
with you. That's how I got into my first real estate deal as well, too,
Mhm.
right? As a passive investor. So I guess some people call it pay to learn, where exactly where you want to go as a general partner. Um, but you also see the importance of understanding the back end product, the way people communicate with you, those things that you're asking for from the
Mhm.
general partners as an LP, right? So whenever you do become the GP, you have that understanding of the things that we should be pushing to our investors. Great points about investing as an LP, starting small and then learning back end as well. LP, GP. Now, the next topic we're going to talk about is the need to pivot.
Okay.
In your journey, you've successfully transitioned from multifamily to senior care and now into ground up development. Can you talk about the importance of pivoting in your career and how to identify when it's time to explore new opportunities?
I would say that I found multifamily through residential assisted living. I went to Rala in December 2020. That time was still during the lockdown periods with COVID. And I met a gentleman that's in the Bright Rock group. And that's how I pursued the multifamily after I already started my
Okay.
residential assisted living journey. I would say that they definitely complemented each other. It's definitely two different sectors, arenas, right?
Yeah.
But I would say that they are both in the commercial, and also they are both helping the community and giving back to the community as well.
Yeah.
The residential assisted living has a very different and special meaning to me because it's not massive. It's not. We're not talking about hundred plus units. We're talking about a ranch home that's 3,500 square feet, and you can turn that into a facility and host residents that wants to get more intimate and one-on-one kind of care instead of going to a big box and not getting the same level of care, right? And that also, so residential assisted living is in a more smaller, intimate home setting scales, but then the return, of course, when you're investing, you want to care about the return, right? It's not just giving. I think the return, it's very impressive because a ranch home that's 3,500 square feet, you probably can only rent it to a tenant for $5,000, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about Fort Worth because that's the RL home that I had with my
Right.
two partners. But if you turn that into a residential assisted living home, you can actually have hosting like 10 residents, and you can turn that into a $60,000 monthly
Per month.
revenue.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow. That is impressive. We had the luxury of having, I think, Isabella Guerrero. I
Yeah,
think
I
she
saw
was,
that. Mhm.
yes, she was amazing. It was a fire round. It's like a 17-minute podcast. So if you listen to this podcast, you want to get a little bit deeper into what RAL is, you can listen to that podcast episode with Isabella Guerrero. Yeah.
Personally, we're also connected, and we have some exchange the residential assisted living as well. And she's Jean Garino's daughter, and I definitely admire her a lot as well.
Yeah. She was definitely fire. It was
Mhm.
pleasant atmosphere to have a conversation with. You led me into the next question I was going to talk about, which is residential assisted living. I want to group this together with ground up development. I want to talk about what are some of the unique challenges and rewards you have encountered on these sector compared to traditional multifamily for the RAL and ground up development.
The ground up development is definitely the new blue ocean.
Right.
I think multifamily is entering into more like a stagnating situation.
Okay.
And that's why it's important to pivot. Residential assisted living is still a blue ocean. I do have some data about residential assisted living that I would like to share. And then I would like to also mention about the ground up, why ground up it's going to also complement and it's a blue ocean. So if you think of the baby boomer generations, in 2021, the first baby boomers turned 65, but
Okay.
by 2029, all the baby boomers will be at least 65 years old.
Wow.
And about 10,000 people a day are turning 65 years old,
Hmm.
and 4,000 people a day are turning 85 years old. So the residential assisted living is not going to go away, and the expense and the cost will be higher and higher.
Yeah.
And if you don't think about the long-term care now, you don't think about the care for your parents or grandparents now, and
Mhm.
start saving or planning or thinking about having your own facility, by the time you realize it and your parents or grandparents need that kind of level of care, it will break the bank. Like
Yeah.
it will like it's we're talking about right now 6,000-7,000 for level 4 caring. By 2029, I think that's gonna be over $10,000 per month.
Per month. Oof.
Yeah, I would think that is very highly possible. How to problem solving and create your own solution. That's really important.
That is good. And that's how RAL was started too, right?
Yes, and I learned
Yeah.
from them, and
Yeah.
I had a full cycle with my two partners, and I'm grateful for what I
Okay.
have learned. And then for the ground up, I would say that ground up, I would say the market is going to be pivoted from Sunbelt area to the Midwest. So right now, because I have already invested over 1,000 units in the Sunbelt area, mainly
Right.
Dallas, Houston, Odessa, and I also have a deal in Nashville.
Right.
I definitely think that the new blue ocean and the new Dallas is actually in Detroit, Ohio, and in Indiana, that Midwest area.
Midwest?
Yes. So we are talking about you can still buy lands under $10,000 an infill lot. And it's really a high benchmark to become a developer. You don't just decide, hey, I'm going to be a developer, right? Because it's like a symphony conductor. You
It is,
have
yeah.
to know so much, right? It's not just digging dirt and you don't know
Yeah,
what's buried under the dirt also. And you have to deal with the city and the permits and
yeah.
the surveyor. So it's actually the journey. If you see how the residential assisted living, you have to deal with the permitting and the city and the zoning. But then this is definitely a different level. So I guess the journey really prepared me well from the get-go to start with residential assisted living and then multifamily. Then now I'm more prepared for the journey of
Development.
development. Yes, exactly.
That is pretty cool. So let's talk about the idea that Midwest is the next blue ocean, which is the next topic I want to get into to understand what this blue ocean concept is. What is driving the data for the Midwest projection? Is it because we're projecting that in these coastal area and Sun Belt, development will become a lot more challenging and a lot more expensive, that we will migrate to the Midwest? Or do we already see a population trend towards those areas?
I would say that because when the ocean becomes red, it's because there are so many sharks, right? They're
Okay.
all fighting for the same praise, right? I think that Dallas or like the Texas area, Sunbelt area definitely have many bigger sharks and they're all vetting and underwriting deals that
Yeah.
are not penciling, we say it. So, and why would I want to do that? I'm still a small fish, right? So finding the blue ocean is definitely the key because you don't need to like battling with that. You could get slaughtered too. So I think
Yeah.
the Midwest, like Detroit, I want to talk about Detroit because not only that it's like one of the top five cities in the 70s or like the in the last cycle of US time. I think
Right.
that it's also because it's coming back and it's the city I personally visited. I went to see my business partner, John, and
Mhm.
he showed me around. The city was very safe and it's definitely thriving. There are some bigger shots there and they were building high rises
Oh,
and
wow.
still not on the radar. Not a lot of people aware that it's booming and happening, but best ever, they did feature an article about Detroit coming
Yeah.
back. The regulation and the city being supportive and having the land bank and all that funding that they want developer to be there. Like that is a market that's welcoming
Okay.
developers. But we're a nation of lack of home building masters, right? Because
Mhm.
like it's home building is still a secrets, like best kept secrets for all these big sharks, big
Yeah.
developers. No one wants to, like, you cannot find an educational platform to teach you how to be a developer unless your father or your uncles are developers, right? Or you can also join like some of the gurus programs, right? So it's really about who, and I think ground up development is definitely the long-term solutions for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if you can build in place where the bureaucracy is not as significant as say Hawaii, right? For example, if you want to paint your house in Hawaii, you're looking at 8 to about 18 months just to get an approval. So imagine and jumping at the head of the line because you're
Mhm.
making $100 million investment. There's none of that, right? There's some Title VII that comes into it, but not everyone is doing the Title VII. I think if a cities,
To add that, so in Detroit or like the subsidies,
right?
you can push paper, you can get all these permits within 1 week.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's the blue ocean. Mhm.
Yeah, when I started flipping down in Pensacola, my longest time was to get the engineers to draw up my plan. So once it's
Mhm.
completed, I get two engineers stamp. I actually had 3 copies to get some stamps, take it down to the office, and
Mhm.
within a week it was signed off on, and we can continue the project. So
Beautiful.
it makes definitely ease in preparation towards the whole time and also bigger profit on the back end because you're not having this long drawn out holding cost. So you talk about,
Mhm.
I want to talk about the blue ocean strategy right? So you mentioned the concept of blue ocean strategy. Can you elaborate on what this means in the investment strategy and provide an example of how you've applied this approach?
Blue Ocean is definitely if you I want to share that I recently read two books.
Okay.
One book is The Expert Secrets from Russell Brunson, and the other
Okay.
book is the EOS system. So in the Expert Secrets, Russell definitely mentioned about that having like kind of pivot and find your own blue ocean
Gotcha.
and be the category king of that sector or yeah. So I think that the blue ocean is in the ground up development because we're talking about 4 to 6 months or 6 to 8 months of horizon to
Okay.
build an infill lot in a subsidy, or it could be in your neighborhood urban infill lots. But then you will have full control, and with that, then you can actually go on to do bigger projects and collaborate and do subdivision, and you can build multifamily. You can also build like residential assisted living homes. So your option would be infinite, right? The blue ocean is just a concept, I think. It's finding a market that is less competitive and with a better return and less horizon timeline. And also with learning and be aware of the latest technology. For our home building mastery educational platform, we're not only offering the school platform so students can be on demand and watch the module and the courses anytime they want, but we also offering the community and the co-form steel framing solution and also like a supply chain for the appliance and all that because I speak Chinese
Yeah.
and there are definitely other layers of advantages we can utilize or leverage through my language advantages.
Yeah, 100%. So that leads me to the home building mastery education platform. So you touched on it briefly. So tell us about the home building mastery, this venture that you co-founded with John Delia Jr. How does this platform aim to incubate new developers and foster growth and innovation in real estate sector?
So it's going to be very immersive and it's going to be a very intimate group of
Right.
students and it's very hands-on. We are going to only accept 20 students
Okay.
and the semester is going to start in January and we will be going to the Las Vegas home building shows and
Right.
also we will have field trips in June for the framing and also the ground development and all that in Springfield.
Hmm.
So the whole curriculum will be a 1 year program and all the courses will be on school and only carefully sorted for the people who really wanted to be a developer
Right.
himself or herself and having some knowledge. I would say at least 3 years of investment experience in real
Got you.
estate and somewhat have some experience in renovations and understanding and also financially able to make sense to support their journey. So
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
No, this is good. This grounded development, this is pretty huge. I got a couple of friends that does the build to rent, and
Mhm.
it's a unique strategy, right? Because they can take that from anywhere. They can take it from land purchase, or they can take it from after the land has been purchased, horizontal work has been done, or the land has just been purchased and just zoned for what they're trying to do. And then they go in and do all the horizontal and then do all the verticals. But at each level, the value of that land improves, right? You do all the horizontal work, that's a whole different level of improved appreciation for the value of the land. And then, of course, it will improve whenever you start doing your vertical work. So, will you guys be catering to a different aspect of those developer or a person who want to see the journey from purchase of the land all the way through the vertical development?
Great question. So
Yeah.
we will have different partnerships or
Okay.
offers. So if let's say one student in Indiana already have land and
Right.
he wants to develop his own,
Okay.
then this program will be for him to dive into the course and then ask us question. Bi-weekly, we will have meeting 2 hour session meeting, and then we will be able to help them like unpack all these questions and help them also refer to the engineer or
Yeah.
the architects and all that in that area. And we also want to help them eventually become our coach
Right.
in the area. And for other option is that we are actually acquiring some land in Springfield, Ohio, and
Mhm.
because John already has all the connections to all the cities and the permitting people.
Okay.
And then, so we will also
Good.
be open to have a student joint venture if they wanted to do more like a group effort learning.
Yeah.
Because let's say a student in New Jersey that wants to be a developer, he doesn't necessarily have to find a land in New Jersey. As, just like how I started my residential assisted living journey in New Jersey, wanting to find a home, but the regulation during the COVID time was very strict and
Yeah.
like it was impossible. So then I pivot to the out of state and partnering with two partners in Fort Worth and started a home. So it's really not limited by the geographic location
Yeah.
or if you have land or not yourself, but more about the willingness to get to the next level and what you want to become. So
No, I definitely like that, especially if you create an ecosystem, right? A guy or gal have the land, a person have the background for project development, right? Who might have worked on a development team and have unique skills, right? But now want to combine that and be a part of one team that they can benefit from. And I think that's pretty cool, creating an ecosystem. I want to talk about the importance of continuing education. So continuous education seemed to be the cornerstone of your approach, right? You talk about starting in Brad Sumrock, you did RAL, and now you're creating the school. I trust that you are learning a bunch going through the process, and now we'll be teaching people as they go through the process. So, how do you stay informed and ahead in such a dynamic industry? And what advice would you have for our listeners about the importance of lifelong learning?
that's a big question.
Yeah,
I think that you really just have to believe in yourself and find passion in what you do.
right.
And what Matthew Hesse mentioned, you define the meaning of life and you create that. And you're not only taking light, you're creating light and you shine
Yes.
it to people. And I think no matter what you do, you can
Yeah,
shine light to people. And also this year I learned that I need to shine more light on myself because I'm such a giver
that's
and
important.
I was neglecting me and always having personal internal struggle and not loving myself more. So I think by shedding light into myself and finding the peace and happiness in me, that pivot of that 2 millimeter pivot Tony Robbins said, I think that's the most powerful thing is the internal realization of like how powerful we can be and everything we
Yes.
do has meaning and the passion of what you do is really determine your success and you will definitely enjoy it much more when you're in that journey of learning and facing challenging
Mhm.
situation and that's what keeps you helping you to keep going, I want to say. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh yeah, 100%. You touched on a whole bunch of things, but just for time and look, society wants us to really be humbled and take care of everything outside of self. And I think that's what it appears to. But I think for most of us who value our journey and also value our peace, then we focused on ensuring that we're taking care of number one. So if we're not taking care of number one, it's going to be
Yeah,
challenging to effectively take care of number two, three, four, five, and 10. So
absolutely.
it's important that we continuously take care of number one and education, not just education about things and places and government systems around us, but education about how we are showing up and what does the best version of herself look like, and then every single day thrive towards that end. So
Absolutely.
yeah, the great points about lifelong learning about self and also the things that we're committed to. I want to touch real quick before we get into the focus round about long-term goals, right, in real estate.
Mhm.
So looking ahead, what are your long-term goals in real estate, and how do you balance the desire for sustained focus and adaptability in your
Mhm.
investment strategy?
Question. So I would say that integrating one
Right?
powerful system, I think that to me would be the EOS system. And then, yes,
Can you explain what I mean real quick? EOS?
the entrepreneur operating
Operating
system.
system. That's from the book
Mhm.
Traction, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like what Don Winner did with that topic in the book Building an Elite Organization. He brings it together, but he also give a bunch of additional resources to
Mhm.
help entrepreneurs and business owner to really
Yeah.
dive deep into the EOS system.
I'll definitely follow up with you on that and we'll look into that as well. I
Okay,
did not read up on that one. But yes, to answer your question, the continuing journey, if you remember what I said about the multifamily and the residential assisted living, right?
right,
And so now when you combine those with the home building development, we're talking about the highest best use. That's something that I have not come to realization until recently that I
right.
started this program, right? And then my residential assisted living partner, Serena, she shed light on me and she mentioned to me about the options for some institutional level
Right.
developer. They will actually have, let's say, two options. Option one, assisted living and memory care home
Mhm.
for, let's say, eight acres land. You can build 100 units and 130 beds of the assisted living memory care home, which is only two buildings, 3 stories. Or
Yeah,
you can build 170 units multifamily in
right.
over two phases, and then you will have to build 14 buildings and 3 stories. So that's one scenario. And the other one is, let's say, a smaller infill lot or zero point 0.3 acres, right? And you can build 78 units of 100 beds of adult senior living. And it's only one building for 11 story. But if you build multifamily for the highest best use, you will have to build 200 units and it's going to be a 15-story building versus a 11-story. So
Yeah,
when you have options, then you have less stress, right?
right.
The stress comes from lack of options.
Correct.
So when you have options and you understand how residential assisted living works and you understand how multifamily works, and now you can use it for your land development, your home development for the highest best use. So all of that makes sense. And the journey is about investing in people and be patient and just learning and knowing the knowledge is the power.
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned that blue ocean is finding things that you're really good at and then creating your own ecosystem. But and that blue ocean could be in multiple sector, right? If you have the right teams, especially in real estate. So real estate, a different sector. If you're listening that is listening to this episode, real estate, when we talk real estate, it's important not to lump them all together, right? Because your house that you live in is a real estate house could also be if you have a 4 bedroom, 4 bath, right? Each one of those bedrooms have their own ensuite. That could potentially be the residential assisted living, right? And the income from that one liability that you live in, you could turn that into
Yeah,
income producing assets, right? With the right
absolutely.
information. So don't lump all the information, your real estate together. Understand how to get the highest and best use. So, Miss Alice,
Yes.
we're going to roll into the focus round and we got about 5 minutes, right? So this going to be quick question, quick answer, right? So the focus round, what do you do for fun in New Jersey?
I love dining out and meeting girlfriends, shopping also. And I was doing a lot of dancing as well. When I was in Boston hanging out with my mom and we went to social dance in at the MIT and we went to
Oh, wow.
different, yeah, so I love dancing. I like to sing also when I'm alone sometimes. I'm very extroverted and so I love to do a lot of things to
That's good.
keep myself entertained. Yes.
What is one opportunity that was a game changer to you?
I think LinkedIn and meeting my business partner definitely is a game changer. And also taking massive actions on understanding relationship,
Yeah.
understanding self-love. Tony Robbins coaching is also a game changer. All that I'm very grateful on all these encounters with different successful and beautiful people.
Sounds like you're paying attention. You're really appreciating and enjoying your journey.
Yes, and
That's
also
awesome.
going to Best Ever and meeting you as well.
I'm honored to meet you as well there.
Yes.
So, what would you say is your most important communication tip?
Learn to listen.
Learn to listen. You learn to listen.
Yes. So when you're listening, you really like engaging and focusing on listening and not just thinking of what you want to say. And it's more about, we have to learn a lot of things. It's all about like repeatedly learning. And to me, it's learning to listen and really focus on the content, what people want to offer. I think it's really important. I
Yeah,
have to
100%.
learn because I'm a fast tempo person and I like to contribute and say things. And I think learning to listen definitely a good skill set.
It's definitely important because we all have this museum in our head, right? And sometimes we get stuck in our own museum and we listen to respond, right? And that's where you see folks, they interrupt each other, right? I was listening to an interview with Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson last night, and
Mhm.
it epitomized not really listening, right? Jordan Peterson is interviewing Elon Musk, but consistently interrupt him. So Elon Musk never really get to finish his thoughts or idea. And it was challenging to watch, right? Because I really do, I admire both these two gentlemen, right?
That's a great
Interrupting,
point.
yeah, interrupting the other person while they're talking, I think is an example of people who are stuck in their own museum, right?
And be
No,
present. So
yeah,
be
100%.
present and really like holding on to and listening to the person, what they want to offer and what they want to say. Because you're learning. Like before the interview, you just showed me something that I didn't know before. So
He's the,
great.
what is one thing you wish you understood earlier?
What I want in life,
Yep.
in a
Ooh,
in a partner.
ooh. Oh man, that one, that's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a good one. All right.
Yeah.
To what do you attribute your success? So you have had an amazing journey, right?
Mhm.
What keeps you going to be successful in all these areas that you've chosen to be successful in?
One day at a time and really have a vision and
Okay.
have faith and trust in people.
Hmm.
Yeah, just be persistent. My college professor always say, Alice, you're so persistent. And I think that's what me to be who I am today.
Hmm.
And I don't have a short answer. I think definitely just have faith and keep learning. And that's what it got me to here.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I call it a stick to itiveness now. So, Miss Alice, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do that?
I think LinkedIn would be great. People who wants to learn more about home building mastery or
Okay.
residential assisted living or just having some ideas on what they want to invest, they can DM me on LinkedIn and
Okay.
I will be happy to schedule a call and talk to them as well.
Perfect. We'll make sure that your LinkedIn link is in this podcast.
Thank you so
So,
much.
Miss Alice, I want to thank you for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us today. Your story is truly inspiring, and I'm sure that our listeners will have gained valuable knowledge from your experience. So, listeners, I want to thank you again for taking your time to listening to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment podcast. I'm Hutch, the Marine Investor. Happy investing.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much, man. Appreciate you.
Me too.